Hello, everybody. This is Dane Gentry with the Standing Back Up podcast. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. I was supposed to have a guest with me, but uh, due to a scheduling deal, they had to decline to come on. But that's okay. It was a guy who was an Alabama inmate. I think he done 6 years. I think he said he was gonna come on and we was gonna talk about the prison down there. Well, ever since I made the video about Alabama prisons and what goes on down there, a name keeps coming up and people keep asking me about Daniel Williams. Now, Daniel Williams was a 22-year-old father. Um, he was in an Alabama prison for a theft charge, doing a 1 year sentence. Was at the end of it, was getting pretty close to coming home or whatever. And then his family gets a call that he's in the hospital and um, either he had overdosed or they said he had tried to kill himself. One of the two. I'm not really sure on that. Um, when the family get there, immediately they notice something's not right. They can see the ligature marks on his wrist. A nurse tells them that it is not what they are telling you. He was on life support and he was brain dead right then. Um, Now, Daniel passed away on November the 9th at a hospital. And that was the day he was due to be released. It was his release day. Um, and so when the family gets there and they see, hey, man, something's not right, they notice that his body has been beaten from head to toe. You can see it. And then they find out he'd been sexually assaulted and on and on. And so the investigation kind of starts. First, the warden or whatever is trying to say it was an overdose. He overdosed from drugs. Well, people started coming forward. Now, as they came forward, people have said that this young man was basically held hostage, kidnapped inside of a dormitory setting in an Alabama prison. Dorm B, I think it is. Dorm B, Alabama Staten Correctional Facility, Elmore County, however they say that or pronounce that. All right. So, um, come to find out, this young kid, 22 years old, had been held hostage for at least 2 days. At least 2 days. He had been forced to ingest drugs, raped repeatedly, beaten, and raped again repeatedly by three men, they think. One is kind of leading the way, but the investigation now is showing three people. Um, and when they found Daniel, when they found him on the bed of ex inmate. That's the only name I can get on the inmate. I thought I had it the other day, but and I think maybe they maybe have took it out of the reports or something, but I can't find it. All right, so let's talk about Alabama prisons for just a minute. Under the Trump administration, the Justice Department started a thing just to investigate the Alabama prisons. So for all of you who keep telling me it's because of the Republicans, this, that, and the other, Trump's administration started it. The Biden administration tried to do away with it. So let's end that discussion right there. Anyway, um, what they have found is a huge cover up. So what they're doing in Alabama is if your loved one gets raped, they're writing it up as a inmate something. They're calling it, and basically all that means is enemy reports. That's what it is. It's an enemy report. Now, all that's saying is that two inmates had a problem. It's never investigated, and it's supposed to be to separate the inmates, but in most cases, that doesn't happen either. What it is a way for the COs not to have to do any paperwork, not to have to prove they're not doing their jobs, or bring heat and pressure on themselves. Now I looked at this dorm, man, and what looks like a old airplane hangar or something like where your airplane would be if you had a private plane. And there is, man, I mean, it's just like they're packed in there. Um, their prisons are supposed to hold 12,000, and at this time they were over 20,000. So that goes to show you. Now, the ADOC, Alabama Department of Corrections, has not been letting people make parole. That's been a new problem now. Only 300 people made parole in 2023. And people would say, well, why is that if they're so overcrowded? Because they want more money for more prisons, man. That's why. It's all about money. This is the main thing that people need to understand on this whole conversation that we're talking about. I don't give a damn if we're talking about Alabama or Alaska. It's all about money. Inmates are the new cattle, period. Now, people can say, well, you shouldn't put yourself in trouble. Man, there's a whole lot of people in prison that shouldn't fucking be there, period, for their crime. So that's a subject for another day. Let's get back on Alabama. Now, this guy who done this to this Daniel Williams had 9 cases of this and was never written up, never any disciplinary action, none of this. Now, here's the kicker. The warden and the psychiatrist signed off and said that for 5 years, dude had a clean record. He scored a 0, basically. The warden signed off on it and the psych signed off on it. And he was allowed to be basically in a minimum security setting with this young man. Here's the thing, man. These are wide open pods. See, we're not used to that in Tennessee. Tennessee, you're in a cell. You have cells. There's a couple of units, I think, that are open, like an annex. And I actually think one at Trousdale. But either way, so this man was tied up and in a corner, man, held in a corner of a prison unit for days. Like, how, I don't understand how in the hell that's possible for no CO to see him. So when I was in jail last time, this dude was in there and he was talking about Alabama, and I was sick. I was coming off drugs and I was sick, and this dude was talking, and he was talking about how these little young white kids are getting raped by all the black inmates and nobody does anything about it. And I slapped the fuck out of him. And I did it because how you gonna sit there and let that happen, man? I don't get it. You know, putting yourself in something is one thing, but that, come on, man. I mean, I just don't. I think you're a coward. I think you're a coward if you sit there and let that happen. And these men are getting gang raped in the middle of these units. I can't even fathom it. I mean, it's like blowing my mind, man. Y'all know I've done 21 years. And when I say I don't know the first case of anyone being raped, but here yet, one state away from us, it is a very regular thing. And the state of Alabama is doing nothing about it. In the report, the dude says, well, you know, the FBI needs to step in and charge them all. Yeah. Yeah. And they need to charge all them cowardly ass inmates that stand there letting it happen. What's up, Brent? Good morning, bro. How you doing? And so that's my thing on this. Now, this kid is only one case of so many, man. And it just, it's like, you know, how's this going on? And for whatever reason, you know, the Department of Corrections don't want to let them out on parole. And that's why, if you're not giving anybody any disciplinary reports, and that's being, look, this dude who did all these rapes and all this, you know, the one thing they did charge him with? Possession of a weapon. So what they're doing down there is when your loved one dies, and now here's the other thing. The Alabama Department of Corrections investigates all of it. Don't know outside corner from the county, state, or none of that get to investigate your loved one's death. It's all done on the inside. You get what I'm saying? So it's all an internal deal. So there's no one to investigate it. And even if they do, nothing's being done about it. You see? It doesn't make any sense, man. The only thing that makes sense is money, you know. So we can get back to the organ harvesting and all that. What I think it is that I think the wardens, the CO, and everybody's involved in it in contraband, because when these people are dying, they're saying, "Oh man, they OD'd, they had drugs in their system," and that's the end of it. Because by the time you get your family, they done been embalmed and stuff, and that was, I don't know if it's this case. I think there's another case in Alabama that happened to where by the time loved ones got them, they'd already been embalmed and all that. So there's nothing they can do. They say it's a little bit difficult in most cases, but it kind of ruins the investigation or whatever. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is just this kid, you know, 22 years old in there for theft, and you're housing him with this known predator. You know, but again, man, how can a room? There was at least 200 people in this dorm I was looking at, and it's a picture of it after. This is like they're there doing their investigation or whatever, and you can see all the inmates on their bed, and these people are standing up and they're watching. So you mean to tell me that there's men in there who sit there on that bunk and let numerous men sit there and rape another man out in the middle of the pond, and you don't do nothing. You just, hell, man, they just over there banging another one. Does that mean that kind of how you live your life? Or are you scared? This all goes back to what I said before. Get you a fucking knife, man. Get you a knife and start slinging it. I mean, plain and simple. You got to do something. That is why those white gangs and all that started, was because there was no protection for the young white kids and stuff coming in, because that was going on back in the days in all these prisons. Well, if you say that you're a part of that, I don't know what's going on with my connection here, but if you say you're a part of all that, you're racist. No, man, these motherfuckers are trying to survive, and down in Alabama, it seems to me like you better do something. You better not go to jail down there, is what I wouldn't do, because number one, they're not going to let you go. Number two, you're on your own, which being on your own is what it is. You just got to learn how to do that. Man, there's no way I would stand there and just let man, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. What I think it is I think they take these kids, man, and they're scared to death in the county jails because they done heard all these stories. And then when they get there, they basically boo them, and 4 or 5 of them come up on them. And it ain't about whooping them; it's all about raping them. It's like that's their common thing there, is they want to rape everybody. So, all you women who your man is down in Alabama prison, surely you got to be standing there thinking, was you in there raping men? Was you in there taking people's butts? That's what I'd be thinking, because the numbers in Alabama lead the nation, man. They lead the nation by far in rapes and all this. 5 times higher. The death rate in Alabama prisons is 5 times higher than anywhere else in the nation. And to this case right here, the warden signed off on it for 5 years. He should be in jail. Let me tell you something. If I was on the street and I come up on something and there was people there raping a woman and I did nothing about it, how would I feel about that? How would I feel about myself? So how do you think these men feel about sitting there watching it go on? You're part of the problem, in my opinion. In a lot of cases, they're probably laughing and thinking it's funny and all this good stuff, because when I made that video, everybody wanted to make it racial. Everybody kept wanting to make it racial. Oh man, they've been doing the black men here. Every report I'm looking at is white kids it's happening to. So, not saying that black men ain't dying in there, because they are different, gang related and stuff like that. But as far as these kids getting raped and murdered in there, they're white. Facts. You can call me a racist or whatever you want to, but that's just a fact. That's a fact of it. In prisons, man, we all know how it is. Tennessee prisons, it's probably, I'm going to say 70-30. 70% black, 30% white. There's racial divide inside a prison more than on the street. It's going to always be that way. Why? Because it's the narrative that's pushed out here on the street. You don't think it's going to go in there? Of course it is. Because on the inside there, it makes you feel more dominant now. Oh, we got the numbers, man. And that's how it works. I'm not saying everybody in there is racist, this, that, and the other, but the majority. And there's nobody that's been to prison and can't say that's not true. If you are, you're a fucking liar, plain and simple. So I can only imagine. They're saying in Alabama, they're putting like 10, it's like 10% to 90. Think about that, man. There's nothing you can do. And so people's minds go back to, my history and my people were done this way by your people, so we're going to do you like this. Now you're in here, when this person over here ain't got a damn thing to do with nothing that happened all them years ago. Not one thing. And that's what we need to wake up and realize, man. We're talking about human beings, man. No matter, see, I would be different. I wouldn't care, man. If I walked in and saw a group of white people doing that to a black person, you don't think I wouldn't help them? Yeah, I'd help them, man, because it's just disgusting. That's an animal. You have to be an animal to live that way, period. And the thing about it is all these men down here, they ain't got life sentences, man. Not every one of them. There's people in there that's got 3, 4, 5 years that's doing that shit. And don't you think for 1 minute that they're not. That's one of the craziest things that you can see about a jail is you can go into a jail and then they'll bring a gay dude in there and just watch it. Watch that happens. They'll be taking the bags, commissary over there to them and all that. sick, man. It's a sick world. And until somebody steps in Alabama, it's not going to stop, because basically, and the answers that they get from them is, oh, it's under investigation. We can't talk about it right now. We got to wait and do our investigation. We got to wait for the toxicology report to come back. So they're saying, oh man, no, it all happened because they was on drugs. Look, man, I've been high a million times in my life. It didn't cause me to get raped. It didn't cause me to get beat up. It didn't cause me to get held hostage and all that. They're saying, one dude said that he was on some kind of stuff called Flocka. Flocka is, I don't know what that is. It's something that they're smoking. I thought it was something like K2 or something. I don't know. But he said he woke up to a dude hitting him in the eye, and next thing he had was 4 of them gang raping him in the middle of this dorm. It's maybe that's one thing they need to do. If they are going to build more prisons down there, maybe they need to make them 2-man cells. Maybe that would change a lot of shit. Me myself, I would not want to be in no open dorm like that, man. That would be, to me, you're sitting there and you got a sleep around 200, especially down there, man. These booty bandits they got going on down there, man. You better not sleep on your stomach or none of that around there, and you better have your knife. And I'm not, it kind of sound, I'm not being funny. I'm being serious, man. It ain't no joke. These dudes down there, man, there's numerous cases of people saying they were raped from the time they walked in there to the time they leave. They have told people about it. They have done all this. There's been people kill themselves over it, cut their wrist, hang themselves, all kind of stuff. And then here's what you got to remember, man. You got to think about is, take that happening to somebody. My heart goes out to you if you're listening to this, and if you're the family of someone, man, I can only imagine sitting there hearing that happened to your son, your brother, your dad, whatever. But think about the people that it's happening to, man, and then they get out, and then your loved one comes home, and you're saying, damn, this is supposed to be a happy time, man. You're home, but something's going on with him. You can't figure it out. Yeah, man, because he's been there for 3, 4, 5 years, and this has been happening to him, or, down there, I'm sure one of them kills one of them. They probably going to charge them because they want them beds full. Man, there's no way that these prisons are running at 200% over capacity. But again, it's about money. That's why they're not letting nobody make parole. Oh man, we're so overcrowded. We gotta have more prisons. And you already got the prisons that you can't get no guards to work in as it is. So why in the hell you keep building these prisons? You need to let people go. They're not going to do that, man. There's too much federal money coming into it. $80 billion a year is what they say. $80 billion a year to the United States jails and prisons. I think it's more than that. Because I was thinking about that, even just the cost of the guards and all of them, if you add that up yearly, that's pretty high. But they're in, like, down here, this organ harvesting. Man, I don't know if y'all know what this is or not, but this is a real deal. University of Alabama, Birmingham, I believe. If I'm wrong on that, I apologize, was involved in it. But here's how they're getting away with that. Once you become an inmate, you are what? You're property of the state, right? And so if you sign off and say, I want to donate my organs, you're property of that state, especially if you're still doing a sentence and you die. You're still theirs. I believe that's how that works. I'm pretty sure. What do you do to that? Is there something legally that a family can do? Can say, hey, man, I understand that he was an organ donor, but we want to decide what. I mean, I don't know how that works, man. I don't know what happens when you die and you donate your organs. I don't know if your family gets to decide. That's done 10 years. Let me read this real quick. Come on. Damn, man. All right, he did 10 years. All right, Doug. Good morning, Doug. First of all, but he did 10 years. Drugs came home. Was this in Alabama, Doug? Now he's sentenced to 32 for the last 5 years. He's got so many more charges, drug and theft related. Never harmed anyone. 30. Yeah. See, there you go. Never harmed anyone, man. And that's the shit that has to change too, y'all. I get it, man. Listen, Missouri. When we commit crime, you deserve to be punished, period. When you do wrong, you have to pay for it. All right. In my case, do I think I deserve to do 21 years for what I did? Absolutely not. I don't. But I put myself there, man. I put myself in a position where this fucking judge or whoever can do whatever they wanted to with me. See, I was the one that, no matter what, the only option I had was prison. I didn't get to go in there and flim flam around and get a little 6-month sentence and 1129 and all this shit. And these child molesters were, but I wasn't because I was a drug addict, man. They sending me to prison. My first offer every time is penitentiary, period. Now, I could sit there and harbor that anger and all that. It don't do nothing but hurt me. I don't have, yeah, took his life away from me. I agree, let me say this, especially if I had to go in, oh, it ain't no look. If I had to go into Alabama, I'd had a life sentence my first day there, without a doubt, because I'd have killed the first motherfucker that even thought about coming to me. But when you have a name like that, I promise you, they're gonna leave you alone, and that's what's going on down there too, man. These kids they're scared to death, man. They're scared to death. You got a pack of probably 10. They probably running 10, definitely 5. Um, and it's, what are you going to do? Especially you're locked in this room, you have no help. And that's the main thing you need to understand, man, is that you have no help. You have to help yourself. So what are you going to do, man? you know, I don't care who you are. If you don't know the end of this, you need to take my advice. You need to kill one of them motherfuckers, period. And it'll stop, man. But that's the only way it's going to stop. You can see this guy. Man, I wish I had his name, y'all. If somebody knows his name, with this Daniel Williams, I would love to have his name. I had it. I can't find it, but now I can't find it on the internet again. But this dude had 9 cases of this, man. And the warden signs off and said, oh, he's no danger. He's no danger at all. And the first thing they need to do in the United States of America is, if you have 5 years or less, you should be at a certain camp. If you have 10 or whatever, be at a certain camp. Anything from, I don't know, 15, 20 over or whatever, that's where you should be. I think Arizona does it that way. I think. I know they have 1, 2, 3, and 4 yards. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but that would be the smartest thing for you to do, you know. But hell, in Alabama, they're not getting charged with it. So these dudes down there with 2 or 3 year sentences are doing these rapes, man. It's sad, man. It's sad. And and then the DOJ comes in and starts investigating these mother freakers in 2020 because of Donald Trump. His administration set it in there. Since then, it's gotten worse. It hasn't got better. It's gotten worse. You know why? Listen, if there's no punishment for what we do, are we going to stop what we're doing? No. For instance, I loved getting high. I loved the way it made my body feel. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. I loved it. Gave me energy, made me feel good, this, that, and the other, right? I didn't stop getting high because it made me feel good. I stopped getting high because of my consequences for my actions. All right. So you have this whole group of people down here. These wardens, they can't get no CEOs to work. So what are they doing? They're turning their head and saying, fuck, let them do whatever they want to do. And then these guards are saying, hey, man, working in here is, this pay ain't nothing. So inmate comes up and says, hey, man, you'll make some money. And that's fine. I don't knock nobody about that. If that's what you do in prison, look, that's part of doing time, man. Getting your contraband in, doing whatever. That's all great and good. But raping a man, I just, sick, man. They're animals. There ain't no other way or other word you can use for somebody who would tie up a man and repeatedly rape him and gang rape him. You're an animal. You should be put to death. You should have been put to death a long time ago. If you don't like that, sorry about your luck. That's a fact. You're a fucking animal, and you're in the best place you could be, except they need to be up there having your ass hung up somewhere. And I pray and hope that before time's over with, you get the same thing done to you. Man, they had a kid down there that had to remove a broom from his rectum. I mean, that's the kind of shit's going on. It's like, that's how they're having fun in Alabama, y'all. So here's the question. What can be done about it? Nothing. The only thing that can be done about it is you start killing them for it happening. That's it. Is it going to, I mean, listen, I mean, all these people are getting away with all this shit and not getting charged with it. Kill one of them motherfuckers. Of course, I'm gonna get emails saying, "Dan, you shouldn't be telling people that." Yes, I should. Yes, I should. For what's going on, it's like a woman on the street, okay, and she's crying out saying, "Hey, I need help," and there ain't no help coming. What should she do? She should do whatever she has to do to protect herself. That's what she should do. And it's the same thing on the inside of there. And the public is going to have to come together or something. I don't know. FBI seems to me like they got a lot going on or whatever. Because all it would be then, we still are not going to get no answers, man. You know, they'll go in and arrest them, and then the news will go on something else. And so we need more people like me. You know, I'm just a small voice, man, but I'm gonna keep blasting it and as much as I can because these families down here need answers, man. This is the thing, man. We can sit here and say, "Oh man, they were inmates, that, and other." Man, these inmates have families, man. They have mothers and fathers, and, kids, and all these things. We have to remember that. Just because this kid was on drugs, man, and he broke in somebody's house, wrong. Yes, don't get me wrong. But then to go to prison and get brutally raped over and over and over, gang raped in front of 200 other men, and then ultimately lose his life. We need to be thinking about the families, man. They're the ones who are not ever going to get any answers. Whatever answer they get is going to be a lie. Every one of these cases starts off as a lie from the get go. As soon as it happens, they start lying to these families and saying, "Oh man, it was drug overdose," or they committed suicide. And in all reality, anybody that's committed suicide in Alabama prisons, it needs to be investigated because, in all likelihood, they probably did it to get away from what they had going on. And that's sad, man. Seeing it going on, getting in a cell and it happening, in Tennessee, I just don't see it being possible. Somebody being held in a corner in an open pod for days. Now, you could get away with it in a cell. You could have somebody in there and they be scared to death, and you tell them, "Look here, don't you think about saying nothing when they come by and do this count. You don't leave this cell," and they're not paying attention. The COs are not sitting around going, "Damn, I ain't seen no gentry come out in 2 days." Every now and then you might have one who's like that, but for the most part, it's become to where they're so understaffed that it's all these people can do to walk in these prisons. And the last thing they want to do is have to do some kind of paperwork and all this stuff. And so they kind of mind their own business, which in a sense, that's kind of how that's the catch-22 of it. Because in a sense, that's kind of how you want your time to be if you're in there. Is I want this police to stay over here out of my business, and that and the other. But I'm talking about other stuff, making money and doing whatever. Not walking in the pod and seeing 5 men over here have a guy bent over a table and saying, "Hey, fellas, how y'all doing today? Good to see y'all." I mean, is that how it's going on? Or is it so racially motivated that they're going, "That's just a white kid. Who cares?" And don't sit here and act like that's not possible, because I'm telling you it's possible. And anybody who's ever been in Tennessee prisons, and you've been in West Tennessee, you know what I'm talking about. So let's stop trying to make it about race, because I can do that. And I promise you it'll go in my favor. So I don't want to do that. I want to say it as they're humans, man. They're human. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter green, white, blue, or purple. This is someone's loved one who is being tortured and on, and they ain't never hurt nobody. They just in there because they're a drug addict. You know, why ain't it going on? Why ain't they raping the child molesters? Why is the only ones we're hearing about is these? Why are they not raping the child molesters? Let me guess. They've probably got them protected, huh? Now go figure that one out. Thank y'all for coming by, man. I'm gonna stay on this Alabama thing. I almost, in a sense, wished I didn't start reading about it, and I would invite anybody else to go and do the same thing. In just one case, Daniel Williams. If that right there don't upset you, then you're not human. No matter what you feel about it, man. This dude had a 1-year sentence, 22 years old, and these other inmates in there. I don't know how y'all look at yourself in the mirror, and that's the God honest truth. How do you look at yourself in the mirror every day, knowing you sit there and watched it happen? You coward. You're a coward. Period. Anybody do that, you're a coward. That's like sitting there and watching it happen to a woman. Would you walk by on the street and see it happening to a woman and keep on walking, or turn your head, or not do anything? You probably would, because a coward's always going to be a coward. Y'all have a good day, man. This is Standing Back Up. Most important thing, stay sober. I know there wasn't this kind of podcast. I was a little upset this morning with this Alabama deal, but y'all, we need to do something about it. It's Alabama now. I'm sure we can find it out going on in all of our states. So, um, hold on one thing. Christy, my child was 19 and 3 ran in his cell and took everything he had. Yeah. Good morning, Christy. Good to see you, girl. It's sad, man. It's sad. Right there, she's telling you he's 19 and 3 ran in the cell. See, again, there we go back to the coward thing, right? Come to me, man, oh man, one-on-one, and come try to take anything away from me. You're not going to, coward. I mean, just plain and simple. So y'all have a good day. God bless, man. Most importantly, let's stay sober, man.